Today we have Rhys from the Windsor market telling us a little bit about an update and what's going on in the market over there in the past couple months. Hey, Rhys.
We're going to bring Greg Miell in to talk about three excellent income property opportunities.
For Sam's Pizza, the owner's been doing it for 27 years, and he's basically retiring. This is his only reason. He's done quite well for himself. And last year he did a 328. This year is going to be around 400.
But he's already profitable, right, Greg? I mean, he's 140 grand. He's 140 guys. He's 140 grand on the books on Jefferson, which is a very busy street, and it's a very busy street corner. There's 5 commercial tenants between 3 buildings with lots of parking. There's an old guy that owns it. He doesn't care anymore. This is kind of like the Sam's Pizza thing. He doesn't care anymore. He knows his rents are 50% of fair market rent. He's renting these out at $5 a square foot when he knows he should be renting them out for $10 to $12 a square foot. The price that you buy it at and the resultant value once you bring those rents up simply to where they're supposed to be right now. I mean, are you doubling value based on purchase price? It's pretty close.
Well, you're making an extra $1 million anyways.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the Canadian Real Estate Channel. My name is Ed Hervies, longtime friend of the channel and multifamily investor. Today we have Rhys from the Windsor market telling us a little bit about an update and what's going on in the market over there in the past couple months. Hey, Rhys.
Yeah, Ed, long time, man.
For sure. It seems like a very long time since we last spoke, but it's just flown by. So good seeing you again.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's great to hear what's going on with Wealth Genius and how busy you guys are. And we're starting to get a lot of your investor students now, or investor groups starting to contact us directly in the Windsor area. I'm sure partially because, you know, we sort of work with you guys so much on this show. Yeah. And it's been good. We're finding they're coming down sort of well-trained, and and they lack a lot of the fear that rookie investors often have. So it's telling me that you guys are preparing them properly, and we don't have to go through as much sort of showing them how to do income approach to value and that sort of thing. It's much more about getting them used to Windsor, why Windsor, as opposed to like teaching them to be investors. So yeah, so far so good from you guys.
That's excellent.
I'm Rhys
That's good to hear.
Yeah. I'm Rhys Trenhaile from the Vanguard team at Manor Realty. If you haven't watched us on this before, I've got a team of 7, soon to be 8 real estate agents, all of which have a specific niche within the income property side of real estate sales. So in essence, what you're looking at, guys, is if you want to invest in condos as a portfolio, I've got somebody for that. If you want to do smaller income properties, 2-unit to 6-unit or student rental, we got the #1 guy in Windsor, right? You're going to see Greg Miell later today. He does our larger multifamily, commercial, industrial income generating properties and has been doing it for 35 years. So, you know, house plus ADU, BRRRR strategy, we got somebody specific to that, et cetera, et cetera. So, I'm happy to announce, Ed, that actually we're going to create our own YouTube channel based on sort of the raving fans that we're getting from this channel. And it's with the blessing of these guys that we're doing it. So I'll make sure that we have the link below in the text so that everybody can join that group. And I'm going to provide even greater insight into the Windsor market beyond just once a month. And we'll also be posting our exclusive listings and pre-MLS listings there, so you can get the jump if you're working with us directly.
That's fantastic. No, it's always Windsor's always a great city to look at. A lot of investors move that way, and with our students, we always encourage them to find people who understand the market first and foremost, not to just go to like a residential realtor, but a team like yours who's actually experienced and has closed on several multifamily buildings, especially in this time where you know, and we'll probably talk about it later, how challenging it can be to unearth some of those good properties.
I'll rip through this really quickly because it's a bit of a broken record because it comes up all the time.
Mm-hmm.
But guys, you have to understand that a residential agent is going to sell you a property, and their mentality is then to move on to the next client and find the next sale because they're used to you not buying another property for 5 to 7 years. That's the average with residential. Income property real estate agents like us, we see ourselves more as financial advisors, right? And so we are interested in selling you the best possible properties, because then you'll get wealthier faster. And that means you'll buy more properties faster, which means we'll make more commissions faster, right? Yeah. So it's not just the altruistic, I care about you and I want to see you do well. There's also a profitable reason why we want to make you wealthy. We're not going to guide you into a brick wall. We're going to guide you to profitability to the best of our abilities. You can use all of our property managers and tradespeople and contractors and lawyers and mortgage brokers. Just use the same systems that we use as investors ourselves. It's so plug and play yourself in and make that profitability. And I can't say that enough, Ed. Like it's just, I wish everybody understood that coming in. Yeah. From here, if you want, Ed, I tend to go through a monthly sort of stats report on the real estate market in Windsor. If you'd like me to do that.
Yeah, let's take a look at what's been going on in Windsor these past couple of weeks.
Yeah. So again, we are the Vanguard team from Manor Realty in Windsor, Ontario. We have scored a couple times. I think 2 out of the last 3 years we've scored as one of the top 100 teams in Canada on sort of the one sort of award thing that I guess matters with this stuff. We don't care about that stuff too much. Like we don't solicit it, but it's nice to have the nice gold seal and show that we're legitimate, I guess. So you guys, you'll see the contact information as we go through the presentation together. info@thevanguardteam.com gets you in touch with us. You can also go to the vanguardteam.com website, look up those agents that match your interests and contact them directly. They're all pretty prompt. Okay, so residential sales, if you notice, and I said this last week as well, you're going to see that they're going to stay about the same as last year. So this was to be expected, guys. We knew that it was going to sort of flatline in what are traditionally slow months, which middle of July through August, it's really quiet for sales. And you'll find, like my team, for example, they'll focus heavily on listing more properties in anticipation for the fall market where there's a big pickup. And so what you're going to see here is, so 2022 is the purple, 2023 is the yellow. That purple line, the purple here, when you go into September and October, you're going to see it went down in those years last year. You're not going to see that this year. You're going to see this number creep back up to what you saw in sort of May and June, right, through the rest of the year. So this dip is a seasonal dip, and then you'll see that come back up. The biggest thing slowing down the number of sales right now is a lack of inventory. Our inventory, I think, this is off the top of my head, I think we're down about 20% over last year at this time. Yeah, so what that does is it puts added pressure on the properties you have, but we're finding people are still remaining fairly stalwart. They're not jumping and panicking and getting into bidding wars like they were about a year and a half ago, right? We do expect interest rates to drop through 2024. And again, we expect it because, and this is another good piece of advice. Block out everything when it comes to economics and predictions that you're hearing from anybody and everything, especially like foreign media, like the United States, etc. Block it all out, guys. You need to follow 2 of the 5 big 5 banks' chief economists. Just choose 2 of the 5. I use Benjamin Tell at CIBC and McKenzie at RBC. And if you just listen to them, you have to remember that the top 5 banks have more access to data than anybody in Canada, right? So they know how many of us are behind on our mortgages, behind on our credit card debt, how much debt we have, how much we have in savings. They know because they're the bank, right? So they come up with pretty accurate predictive models. When you start getting economists from a credit union or economists from a think tank, or economists from a labor union, guys, block all that crap out. just follow two of the top 5 banks' chief economists because they have access to our data, right? And so they're by far the most accurate. So when Benjamin Tal at CIBC and McKenzie at RBC are both saying they expect interest rates to start dropping in the first quarter of 2024, believe them because they're going to be right 9 times out of 10. Right? And as a consumer, guys, as a small investor, that's about as good as you're going to get for accuracy, unless you're on the inside, which we're not, right? But keep it simple on that. Don't get confused with all the white noise out there on social media and, all the guys on YouTube that tell you the sky's falling all the time. Like, just listen to 2 of the top 5. So anyway, based on that, as the interest rates soften, we expect, basically as the snow melts, we expect there to be a big increase in sales and sales prices again. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. Yeah, I haven't looked at the numbers with a lot of you guys, a lot of the experts on the Canadian Real Estate Channel, and just anecdotally, I thought the sales were slowing down, but now it's good to see the reasoning behind why it would go up for sure. Appreciate that.
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't know about other cities, right? We're hyper local.
Right. Okay.
But here, the economic good times are still really, really rolling. I mean, the Conference Board of Canada expects a very mild recession throughout Canada, except for Windsor.
Okay.
and that's because there's so much going on down here. I've said it I've exhausted all that on previous videos. If you want to watch me wax poetically with my pom-poms out, it's on the previous videos. But needless to say, I fully expect Windsor's population to double before I die, barring an unfortunate car accident or the Detroit Lions winning a Super Bowl.
Not gonna hurt.
Yeah. Go Lions, man. 1-0. Beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Not the place, the forum for it, but I just had to say it. Market activity. So you can see here, did I miss one? I did. Oh my gosh. Okay, so average price. We're up about 6.5% over last year at this time. And that's because, again, there wasn't just a sales drop last year in 2022, which is the blue thin line. There was also a drop in number of sales and the prices. And this number here, again, September, October, November, December in 2022, that number kept going down to about 476,000. So at this point, I think these numbers are blurring together, but I think it was at about 527, it looks like. Whereas today it's at 561, 562, right? That's a big difference. And that number continued to go down to about 476,000. That is not going to happen this time. The reason for that is it was a knee-jerk reaction to this knee-jerk reaction here, which I call the stupids. So in early 2022, housing prices in Windsor went up 36% in 90 days. Yeah. And I had to tell investors to hold off buying because I didn't think this was sustainable. And of course it wasn't. It adjusted back down again.
Right.
Where housing prices are now, look at since March, right? March 568, April 576. Like, it's basically a flat line, isn't it, guys? Right? This is your breather. March, April, May, June, July, August, your prices in Windsor stayed about the same. The only reason you saw a drop here and here, so you're at 602, 582. Now you had to drop to 554 and then 561. The reason for that, it's actually because the number of sales above 800,000 plummeted. They're down to about 20 sales a month. And so it's the bigger luxury home sales that aren't selling right now that cause the average or median, average property value to drop that badly. Right? Okay. So what you're going to see, guys, is here, yes, 2022 continue to see a drop down to about 476,000. So sort of down here. You're not going to see that this time. You're going to see this number go up. It might flatline a little bit longer, but I think you're going to see it go back up September, October. And again, when the snow melts at the end of the first quarter in 2024, all bets are off again. We don't have enough housing for rent. We don't have enough housing for purchase. And your interest rates are going to come back down.
Right.
Right. I mean, there's just zero indication that the market's going to go the other way. And I literally have an email to send out to a client today that believes housing prices are going down. And I have to politely say, you're just wrong. It's not going to happen. And I know real estate agents in general say, oh, the market's great and everything's going up. And you guys are right. Most of that is not based on sound fact. I can assure you I am based on sound fact. I study this stuff ad nauseum. And there are literally zero indicators that the housing prices in Windsor are going to do anything but go up. I would say at an absolute minimum of about 10% a year. And you're probably looking at more than that. Yeah.
And can you just clarify, these are single family homes what you're showing here?
Yeah, for simplicity's sake, we're looking at single family, but the income properties tend to follow suit. Yeah. This is market activity. So essentially what it's looking at, guys, 2022 is the darker bar, 2023 is the lighter bar. And what you can see here is it's talking about overall activity. So these bars are cumulative. There you go. So they're stacking on top of each other, right? They're adding to themselves. So what it's basically saying is the market activity was about 17% higher than it is today. And I can tell you a lot of that is based on just a lack of inventory. There's not enough houses for sale right now. And that's causing, so basically an activity slump. The other thing you got to remember too is 8801, 7731. That was a city record, right, for market activity. This is sort of still a top 3 or 4 year all time. Do you know what I mean? So it looks like, oh my God, there's a big drop. But I mean, this was exceptionally high in market activity last year.
And why do you think there hasn't been enough interest in selling right now?
That is a complex, loaded question, Ed. I think a lot of people want to sell. Like baby boomers, we have a ton of baby boomer clients that don't want to navigate stairs anymore. They're empty nesters living in huge houses. And they're ready to sell. But what are they going to buy?
Right.
This is the conundrum. Like Greg and I have a client that is a dear friend of ours, and they live on the golf course in a beautiful house. But where are they going to live? Like we have to find that smaller house for them first, and that's where the conundrum is. There's not enough smaller houses. There's a lot of activity on the smaller houses. That's not the problem. The problem is how can I explain this? When you don't have enough sort of spares, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you don't think about it, if you're changing tires, guys, if you've got a flat tire and you've got a spare tire in the back, it's pretty academic, right? You take the tire off, you put the other tire on because you had the extra tire, right? Now imagine you didn't have the extra tire. Now you're kind of stuck, right? Things can't move. Tires can't move off and on the car that easily because you don't have the spare. It's the same thing with the real estate market. People can't sort of freely move if there's nothing to move to, so therefore they can't sell their house, right? So the whole market's gunked up a little bit, Ed. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I totally understand.
Yeah. So that's kind of what's happening as you put more when you put more real estate onto the market, and we're going to start seeing that increasingly as we build thousands of residential units down here. So over the next sort of 2-3 years, you'll start seeing that loosen up a little bit. But I don't know.
Are there plans to do more residential builds over in Windsor?
Oh yeah, well I'm one of them, right? I'm one of the developers down here. So we're currently, Greg is on the one that we're doing downtown. But no, I've got about 200 residential units coming to the downtown core.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah, other entities have announced thousands, depending on the project. Or 8,000, I should say. That's Fairmont out of Ohio. And I just heard the other day from our local MP that's still on the table. They're moving forward because nobody had really heard anything. It hasn't been in the news, but yeah, they're still going. But yeah, like Ed, we have 1,000 people moving down here a month.
Yeah.
Right. And we're talking about, oh yeah, eventually we're going to get 3,000 more units online. It's like, that's 3 months of immigration to the city. You can't talk in eventual terms.
Yeah.
I don't, I still don't know. I don't know what we're going to do. Like, we're not going to be able to build fast enough. You
got to build more.
Now, what's that?
You got to build more.
Yeah. Well, there's now, I think, finally, thankfully, the federal government is now starting to put direct pressure onto the municipalities.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy for them to do, right? Because they're national,
Mm-hmm.
and they tend to rely on the provinces to implement what they need to implement on municipalities.
Right.
It just hasn't happened.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it just hasn't happened. I think the best example of a bigger city figuring it out was Edmonton. Mm-hmm. And Edmonton does increasingly have one of the top 2 most affordable housing markets in Canada, the major cities, because they did do the measures that they had to do. They wiped out those rules that all cities have put in place for NIMBYism. Mm-hmm. So and it was said by the new cabinet minister, Sean Fraser, who's now the housing minister. I mean, he said it extremely well, is that he's going to force cities to make housing legal again. Think about that for a second.
Yeah.
It's absolutely correct. Like, you feel like, and I'm going through the process right now as a developer, there's a lot of bureaucrats that make you feel like a villain trying to build, trying to create housing. I'm not going to get into specific stories, but yeah, you'd be shocked, man. Yeah. So I get it when he's saying that he's going to make building housing legal again.
Yeah.
Like, the number of obstacles that we hit trying to build. We've got a client that's building a beautiful multi-unit building, beautiful, where there used to be an old rundown church that squatters were living in. It was a disaster.
Right.
And he knocked it down, and he's going to build this beautiful multifamily that fits the neighborhood perfectly, architecturally, tastefully done, lots of parking. And of course, you have 8 neighbors that have held it up for 2.5 years with protests and appeals. And it's like, what is wrong with these? Like, it's beautiful. It's going to be a beautiful building, and it's replacing a derelict, empty, abandoned church.
Yeah.
And they're putting up the fight of their lives. And this is the nation over. Like, and not just this, it's right the Western world over, is that there's too much control and there's too much NIMBYism. When we're desperate for housing and the things that are being advocated, think about it, man. You build a 30-unit apartment building that's tastefully done into a neighborhood. What you've done, if allowed, if allowed, is you've reduced crime.
Yeah. Because
you have more foot traffic. Foot traffic is the number one determinant to crime. You've also gave a massive boost to all the local shops and stores, because you've added 30 people that can walk to those shops and stores and spend their money, right? You are also now increasingly justifying the tax money that goes to public transit, like buses.
Right.
Like, please stop me where this is starting to hurt you and starting to hurt your neighborhood. And I don't want to sound like a jerk about it, but it's got to stop, because we got a housing crisis, and the homeless crisis is the housing crisis. It's got to stop. There's too much control to the homeowner that's now being recognized, where, for example, in Ontario, you're now allowed 2 additional dwelling units to add to a house, and there's no NIMBY ability to fight it. Right? They got rid of that housing NIMBY ability, not my backyard neighbor, to fight again. You can't fight it, right? But you have to do that, because otherwise none of that stuff would ever get made. And I think it's going to be good. I mean, London, Ontario now, I don't know if you saw in the news, they're the first city to say, yes, we're going to wipe out all the NIMBYism from our regulations. Like all the worst regulations we're going to get rid of. And in exchange, the federal government's going to give them $47 million. So the federal government's now using the money to be a big carrot to cities to streamline their regulations, so that builders and developers like me can build and develop the necessary housing stock that's required to get out of this crisis. And it's going to take us 10 years. So as an investor, you have to understand there is no magic pill. It's going to take 10 years to fix the shortage of houses. But to put it in perspective, America is short 3 million homes. Basically, if they build 3 million homes, they've caught up, right, to what they need in housing stock. And many of the states are sort of keeping up with that. They're building housing like crazy in New York State, for example, right? So they're very successfully catching up to that. We in Canada have a 3.5 million home shortage, but we're only 1/10 of the population.
Yeah.
That would be like the United States being 35 million houses behind.
Yeah.
Like, that's how bad it is here, right? And that's no single politician or anything else. This is decades of screwing up this file leading to this point. For example, getting rid of public housing. The feds used to build a ton of it, right? And now they don't build any of it. So, I mean, you know, it is what it is, man. And it's right across the Western world, the problem. But you're not building 3.5 million homes tomorrow. So, guys, when you buy income properties in a city like Windsor, where there's a massive economic gain going on right now, and you have these acute housing shortages, your property values are going to go up. It's supply and demand. It's a basic macroeconomic reality. That's what you're dealing with. And that lowers your risk tremendously, right? And then we just basically have to find cash flowing opportunities for you in that environment and have fun. Congratulations, right? And really, because of that, I think it's one of the best times I've ever seen in my 20 years to invest. Are the prices creeping up? Yeah, of course they are. But do you have massive safety of investment because housing prices have nowhere to go but up because of acute supply and demand issues? Yeah. I mean, did you see the headline today? I think rents are going up an average of $100 a month right now.
I didn't see it this morning, but I believe it for sure.
Oh, the bad, evil landlords. It's not the bad, evil landlords. There is a shortage of rentals.
Yeah, supply and demand for sure.
And it's a capitalistic society. You get 6 people. You know, we just rented out a house yesterday. Jason Ballston and our team just rented out a house for one of our clients for $2,900 a month, you know, plus the utilities. There were 4 people bidding to rent out that house.
Yeah.
Like, do you expect the landlord to say, "Oh, no, guys, I don't want the extra money from you guys that you're bidding. You know, I just want the money that you dictated." Yeah, and you know, every landlord has huge problems with inflation. Our expenses keep going up, right?
That's right.
So, you know, it's a situation where you as the landlord can benefit greatly and have a minimum around. This is one of the safest markets I can think of. I hope that ages well, but there are no indicators that you know, barring, you know, Donald Trump pressing a red button or something, I you know, like the nuclear button, I don't know, you know, just based on basic economics, supply and demand, property values are going to go up.
Right. No, it makes total sense, man. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Okay, this is my last stat, and then we're going to bring Greg Miell in to talk about 3 excellent income property opportunities. And I probably should have mentioned that at the beginning of the video. But yes, Greg's got 3 diamonds in the rough to show us.
Nice.
Yeah, so right now, really quickly, I rambled on, so I'm going to be quick on this one, but residential units sold, not February. Thanks, Reed, who put this together. This is for August, not
August.
February. I didn't notice that before. Yeah, so residential units sold in August, guys, aka February, apparently, according to the slide. When I started doing these, there used to be quite a few, probably about 50 plus units under 300,000. And in a year and a half of doing this, you can see this is drying up. Very little is now selling under 300,000. For the investor, though, you still have this wonderful sweet spot of 300 to 400. And the low 4s, I mean, you think about a duplex, for example, that's still a great little spot to be in, right? 600 to 800, you're not going to do too much there, guys. That's more sort of middle, upper class and upper class people buying their homes. Yeah, and I did mention this before, but you can see that houses over $800,000 have really declined. That number was creeping up by a good double that number. They were getting up over 50 sales, and it's come back down to 20 to 25 the last few months, last 2 months. Yeah. All right. So there's the great Greg Miell, 35 plus years experience in real estate. He'll probably correct me and tell me it's like 37 now, but I'm sticking with 35. So Greg does all our bigger investments, right? The
Right.
commercial plazas, the apartment buildings, et cetera, and increasingly land development, because for the first time since the 1970s, people need land to build and develop. And that constitutes about 60% of the total, what are called ICI sales right now. So industrial, commercial, and income properties. So the larger stuff, the larger ICI stuff, about 60% of it is just selling the land to build stuff, whether it's industrial, commercial, or apartment buildings. All right. Greg also sells businesses as well, and we've actually got a great business sale opportunity for you guys. And for those in the middle classes, pay attention. Okay.
Hello.
Hey, Greg.
Hey.
Thanks for joining us.
You're welcome. Glad to be here.
Sounds like you sell just about everything in Windsor.
Well, I work on it anyways.
He's the catch-all. He's the catch-all for the big stuff. Yeah.
Right on.
And the businesses. Yeah. All the stuff that real estate agents don't want to do because it's tough and tricky and complex. Yeah. Yeah.
And they take forever.
But yeah, Greg and I have been working together for, Greg, over 18 years.
Yeah, it's getting, right about there.
Yeah, we both had hair without gray when we started. Now it's over. Getting old, buddy. So yeah, Ed, if you like, we've got 3 different properties to show the audience.
No, that'd be fantastic, Greg. I'd love to hear more about what type of deals you find. If you could tell us a little bit about your process and how you can help upcoming real estate investors, how you guide them through the properties, what type, a lot of people don't live in Windsor. Do you do remote viewing, walkthroughs, things like that? If you can just share a little bit about your process, that'd be great, because I know a lot of people, especially from our community, that are interested in some of these cities, but they're based in Ottawa or Toronto or other parts of Canada.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, most of my business is with out-of-town people, so very rarely do I get to meet anybody personally other than on the phone or a Zoom. Yeah, so I mean, it's all about the numbers, mainly location. So it's a matter of identifying, their particular needs, their price range, what they're looking for, and focusing on a few properties that would fall into that. Going through the numbers, talking about the location, the amenities, and and the reasons why it makes for a good investment.
Excellent, fantastic. Yeah, I'd love to see what you got. Let's get cracking.
Yeah, I think Rhys has got me queued up for Sam's Pizza.
Okay.
It's just like kitty corner from the university, so it's about a block away from the main campus. Been established since 1947, so it's been freshened up. So I mean, the business, of course, doesn't look like it's that old. It's actually quite attractive inside, and as you can see, it's got the front there that slides open, so they can open that right up onto the sidewalk, and students are, like by the dozens are walking by all the time. They do a lot of business, in pizzas and deliveries. The owner's been doing it for 27 years, and he's basically retiring. This is his only reason. He's done quite well for himself, and so he is motivated in a sense to make it happen, to make a sale happen.
Yeah, and I mean, he'll hold paper, I believe, too, Greg. Right? He'll hold some.
Yeah, he'll help out with the financing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and his sales are, so of course, like most businesses across the world, had slowed down during the pandemic. So I mean, we got financials that show, he was up in the 500 range before the pandemic, and slipped down below the 300 range, and then has now been moving up. So last year, he did a 328. This year is going to be around 400.
Yeah. A lot of these places are climbing back up, but he's already profitable, right, Greg? I mean, he's 140 grand.
Oh yeah, he's still doing very well, and
yeah, he's 140 guys. He's 140 grand on the books. And if you know anything about the bar, on the books. So if you know anything about the bar and restaurant industry, let's just leave it at that. That's what's on the books. So he's profitable at 140 grand on the books. And what Greg tends to try to do with all the bars and restaurants that he sells is he's trying to sell it basically about a 2.5 ratio, right? So if your net income is 140, he'd be in this case trying to sell the place to you for about 350,000, right? That's a 2.5 to 1 ratio based on the profits on the books. And Greg, that would be pretty close to what it would sell for, I would think, right? We're asking in the high threes.
Yeah, we're asking, just on, at 398. So yeah, somewhere in that range, and so therefore, 350 can be justified, and anything over 350 is more than justified if you look deeper into the business.
Excellent.
That's why I want to show this one. Yeah.
So these are the type of businesses you're actively looking for, and people seek you to help them find as well.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's a variety available. This is the one I'm working on right now. But yeah, I mean, there are different, I mean, all the way down to convenience store type businesses. I mean, they're, smaller money, but there's opportunities.
And could I just ask you guys, sorry, just one more question on that?
Yeah.
For these type of businesses, are the owners actively working in the business, or do they already have a team that you'll just take over to manage? Or am I going to have to learn how to mix the dough and toss it up in the air and
No.
How do these look like?
No, he's got a great dedicated staff. That operate the business for him. He's there most every day, and he spends time there doing, mixing about. But no, he's got a great cook and, barkeep and, waitresses, that kind of stuff. He actually likes, he's been telling me recently, he likes to do the deliveries.
Okay.
Because it's a lot of deliveries. And he likes to see the clientele that he's working with, and it just allows him to be in the business and not having to deal with the pressure. So this guy, he would be taking care of the paperwork and all the business type of stuff. So he's kind of like hands-on and hands-off.
Yeah, and guys, bear in mind, not everybody sells because a business is suffering, right? There's a ton of sales because guys get tired. Guys and gals get tired, or they want to retire, right? And the owner, Ralphie's been doing this for 27 years.
That's a respectable amount of time for any business.
He's tired, guys. He's tired. He's done it for too long. He needs a new challenge, right?
And just to add on to the question I had, well, these do you find that you sell to a lot of out-of-towners who set up who are owning it remotely, or do you find that people move over there to take on some of these businesses?
Well, I think in general, most businesses require hands-on. Maybe when you get into much larger businesses where you have different levels of management that are running it for a corporation or whatever, a large corporation, that's a business that a remote person could buy. But these are like mom and pop businesses, right? Okay. So, and this time there's, baby boomers are retiring, right? So there's a lot of opportunities where, a business has been around for a long time, but it hasn't really been worked like it should, like they did 27 years ago, right? And so a lot of these businesses just need that fresh energy to reinvigorate and make that much more money, because this $140,000 net profit, he isn't working near as hard as he did 27 years ago to make that happen. And if somebody were to come in, there's different ways to make that much more money.
Really quickly, guys, 1009 Niagara. So this is an exclusive listing. It's not on the MLS. If you're interested in this, this is a good phrase for you guys to remember if you don't know it. Principals only. So if we're showing you guys these places, we don't want to hear from your real estate agent from Markham, right? It's principals only, which means you're dealing with us directly. The vendor knows that it's principals only. We have their permission. And that allows us to just facilitate a transaction between two parties based on our knowledge and based on our availability of our listings, right? And over half of our sales guys are like this. If you want access to our exclusive listings and you understand that this is principals only, then shoot us a message through info@thevanguardteam.com or go to thevanguardteam.com, send us a message, and we'll add you to those specific mass email lists for the different types of exclusive listings. So if you want duplexes to 6 units, we can put you on that list. You want student rentals, we can put you on that list. If you want burst strategy and fix and flips and house plus ADU, we can put you on those, right? And then you got access to our exclusive listings. But yeah, we don't want to hear from your Keller Williams agent in Woodbridge or whatever. So with this one, guys, Greg, could you please just quickly go over the numbers? Does this one cash flow?
Well, their total rent there is $85,000 for this past year. So the net operating income is $58,000, and that includes maintenance and management. A lot of properties are put out there, and they don't include maintenance and management. I always try and analyze a property, even if it's self-owned, like owned. The owner does his own managing and maintenance. We still like to keep everything on the same playing field, so we include those numbers.
Yep.
In this case here, it's a 5.8 cap. The building has been substantially updated, so there's very little, even though it is an older building, there's very little left to do on it, if anything.
Yeah, guys, we're going to interrupt, Greg, because we're so short on time, but this is one of our clients from Vancouver that started with us when he was very small and now is at a point where he's building his own apartment buildings. And so he's starting to sell off some of the smaller properties that he has with us in Windsor. Right. Perfect. So if anybody's wondering why you'd get rid of a perfectly good sixplex, you do outgrow your assets, right? I used to have a bunch of condos and fourplexes and student rentals. Those are all gone. I've got bigger properties now, right? So it's the same thing here. Yeah.
Yeah, he's owned this place for 12
forever.
years. So it's
yeah,
not
I sold it to him forever ago. Yeah. But it's a really good neighborhood too, guys. This is the kind of stuff that we can do with exclusive listings. I don't think Greg is pushing this one too hard yet because we're waiting for them to.
Well, we just got it. We just got the paperwork done yesterday.
Oh, we did. Okay. So
yes,
when you guys see this, you're probably going to have to call pretty quickly to see if it's still available. If it's not, we get other ones like this, but reach out quickly. Okay, guys? This is the last one on Jefferson, which is a very busy street. And it's a very busy street corner. There's 5 commercial tenants between 3 buildings with lots of parking. Really quickly, there's an old guy that owns it. He doesn't care anymore. This is kind of like the Sam's Pizza thing. He doesn't care anymore. He knows his rents are 50% of fair market rent. He's renting these out at $5 a square foot when he knows he should be renting them out for $10 to $12 a square foot. And Greg, I mean, you can talk to property value, but I mean, the price that you buy it at and the resultant value once you bring those rents up simply to where they're supposed to be right now. I mean, are you doubling value based on purchase price? It's pretty close.
Well, you're
right?
making an extra $1 million anyways.
Okay.
Just by increasing the rents over the next 2 or 3 years. 3 out of the 5 tenants are on month-to-month leases. All the tenants have been there for a very long time.
So Greg would literally, guys, if you buy this place, Greg would help you provide notice to the tenants that are already month to month. This is going to be your new rent. 2 out of the 3 are going to say yes and stay. 1 out of the 3, I don't know which ones. I'm doing basic math based on my experiences, guys. 1 out of the 3 will leave. No problem. Greg will rent it out. Remember, Windsor's going through its second golden age right now. The market is red hot. He'll just rent it to the next good commercial tenant at the higher rent. And then the last 2 tenants, Greg, I think they both come off lease in the next year roughly, right?
Yes, yeah, within 2 years. Yeah, 1 next year and 1 the following.
So guys, literally within 2 years, you can make $1 million without lifting a hammer on this property just by bringing up the rents to where they're supposed to be, right? I mean, that's wonderful to me. This is the stuff that I love doing, right? I'm not doing it right now because I got enough going on downtown, which we've already discussed early in the call. But guys, somebody please take advantage of this. And I think we're done.
Guys, I appreciate all the insight, and I'm sorry we went over, but if you maybe put that slide back just to get your contact information. As always, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for joining us. I will do a better job of keeping in touch, Rhys. We'll chat again. We have a lot of things going on right now, but Windsor sounds very interesting. Not gonna lie. One of my father-in-law has a couple properties over there, and anyway, I'm sure to drive down one of these days.
Sounds good. Ed, good seeing you again, man.
Likewise, Greg. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Bye-bye, guys.